Today my guest is Hadi Hariri. Hadi, how are you?
I'm good. How are you doing?
Did I say your last name correctly?
Absolutely.
Okay. What do you do, Hadi?
What, right now?
Yes.
Suffering from jet lag.
You suffer from jet lag and you rant. That's what you do, right?
Rant.
Does that pay pretty well? Let's talk about your ranting.
Yeah.
Because I know jet lag. Jet lag, don't even talk about jet lag.
Yeah.
It took me 2 days to get here, 48 hours to get here from Chicago. So
You flew United?
I flew United. I
That's your
slept
issue.
in the Vancouver airport a couple of nights ago on a bench. And I should be the one ranting, but I want to give you a chance to rant. Because you're famous for rant. I saw your talk in Stockholm last year where you ranted about the churn in the software industry.
Yeah. Yeah, it's funny. Someone said to me, well, I was at a conference somewhere in Austria or somewhere, and they're like, did you ever expect, to like your Silver Bullet talk to be so successful? I said, well, think about it. I've been giving talks on technology for the past 16, 17 years, and one of my most successful talks is me just ranting.
It was
It's
a
kinda
very entertaining talk.
Well,
There was a message in it,
there goes all my efforts in trying to learn technologies, right?
And you kind of joke in the talk. You said, this is a talk about nothing. It doesn't, what's the point? There is no point. I told you.
Yeah.
But there really is a point. The point is that there is no silver bullet, right?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I've been in this industry for a long time, and I think that my main point with that talk is I feel that sometimes we lose sight of what we're meant to be doing. Like, what is the idea of us having gotten into software, right?
Okay.
And instead of, solving problems, we are for people like, creating software to help, whatever it is, whether it's to solve problems for people, whether it's to automate things, whatever does it for you. Do we lose sight of that and we become too involved in trying to play catch up to the latest technology, to the latest stacks?
Okay.
Right, and it becomes to a point where are we actually just, creating, like, doing software for the fact, our purpose has become upgrading to the next version of our framework, our language, our tool, or what have you.
Okay. Well, that's fair. I mean, so I wrote a blog post on this a few years ago when I was a consultant, and the title was, Am I a Technologist?
Yeah.
And at the end of it, I concluded that no, I'm not a technologist. I am a solver of business problems, and technology is one of the tools that I use to do that. But you're saying that people are not only focused on the tool, but which tool? That, like, if I just sprinkle a little bit more of this new framework on it,
Exactly.
all my problems will be solved.
Yeah, and it becomes like, why am I using this new framework? Why am I migrating from X to Y?
Right.
Why am I doing it? Is it because this really does provide better business value in the long term? Is it justified, or is it my desire to learn? Am I justifying my willingness, wanting to learn something new?
Sure. Getting the customer to pay for it.
Yeah, get the customer to pay for it. And I'm not, I learn things every day, right? We all do. I'm not saying it's bad to learn, and I'm not saying it's bad to adopt new things, but, let's really be honest about the reasons that we're doing these things.
Well, what should we be motivated by? What's in the ideal world? What should drive us?
I think what should drive us is actually the reason that we got into software to begin with,
Which
and
is?
my personal reason was because I had a love for automating things, and when I started to realize that through my love for automating things I could make other people's lives easier, that's what started to drive me even more.
Okay.
Right? I just enjoyed solving issues for people. Right. Now, of course, unfortunately, we're automating some people's jobs out of existence. But that was the driving factor for me. And when I talk to people, from all over, most of them are also about that. They're about, I just like solving problems. I liked automation. I like helping people get their job done. Right. And that's what I'm saying. A lot of times we're losing sight of that. We're thinking more about, hey, let me try this new framework because it's cool.
And the coolness alone isn't enough.
Yeah.
So the dilemma here is that in order to automate things, we need tools, we need software. That's the tools. Those are the tools that we use to automate things. And often the new framework will have some advantage, make it easier to automate. How do we balance that?
So let's see. How do we balance that? Let's say that I've got a project on, I don't know, ASP.NET web forms,
Yes.
to name something.
That's
right?
a good example. The whole
Good example.
MVC
Yeah.
web forms controversy
Yeah.
of a few years ago.
Exactly. So the question is, should I move to MVC? Why? Well, it's new. Well, it was new. We're talking like
Right.
5 years
That was
ago.
a debate about
It was new. It looked cleaner. It looked more testable.
Mhm.
It looked this. It looked that. And then you think, okay, well, let me see. Look at web forms, right? Well, okay, I'm using MVP patterns, so I got this stuff separated. I can actually test this stuff. So the testing throws out the window. What else? Well, ASP.NET Web Forms isn't being maintained anymore. Okay, do I need anything new that actually my business needs? Nah, but do we actually ask these questions?
Sure.
Right? Do we say, what would it take me to rewrite this versus maybe integrate it with some new technology? Maybe just continue to do what I'm doing with this existing technology.
Right.
And I think that those questions often we don't ask.
Okay.
And what's worse is, even if we do ask them, we don't go back and say, now let me do a retrospective on this and see, did it pay off? Right?
Okay.
We're driven by this idea of, the technology radars and influencers and speakers like us
Sure.
and consultants and everything coming and say, yeah, you need to use this awesome new technology, right? And because this is going to solve all your problems. Like, how many times did we hear that with WCF? I wrote a book about WCF. I was one of the guilty people going around saying, WCF is awesome. It's this new model that's going to save your life,
Right.
right? And now people are like saying, oh, you're doing WCF? That's disgusting. That's like, Jesus. It's... I don't think that... So the balance comes down to, let's actually ask those difficult questions. And let's push ourselves a little bit further and discovering, is it worthwhile for us to throw out everything we have and rewrite everything from scratch?
Yeah, exactly. I think that's a fair point. So during my consulting days, I had the web form versus MVC question. I was a big MVC proponent. I loved MVC. I thought it was much better than web forms, but I never recommended anyone migrate from MVC to web, or from web forms to MVC, because it was just too much work. We couldn't justify that cost. New projects I would start at MVC, and then I become a fan of things like REST services and web API and things that make it easier to build REST web services. And so I never touch WCF. WCF, for me, I had to relearn it every time I used it. But I never, ever said, you need to throw away that WCF and rewrite the whole thing in web API or in Node or whatever. It's that's justifying that. So there's this trade-off here, which is it an existing application versus is it a greenfield application, and that would drive a lot of what I was doing.
Yeah, but and a lot of times as well, it's kind of like we base decisions on like other people are doing it. It's all this. I don't know. Walmart moved to Node.js.
Okay.
Microsoft's writing their editors, online Visual Studio Online in Node.js. Consequently, if these large companies are doing it, Node.js must be a good thing, and it must be the future, and let's all move to Node.js. Right?
I see. And that's
and it's just funny because recently, a couple of days ago, there was a blog post by Uber, which had said the blog post was migrating from PostgreSQL to MySQL, right? And they'd laid out this 20-page blog post on why they migrated from Postgres to MySQL. And someone tweeted a blog post by Uber in 2013 that said migrating from MySQL to PostgreSQL. Right?
Oh my gosh!
So it's kind of, the tweet was like there and back again. Right?
That's job security. That's the beauty of the software industry. That's jobs.
We've created our self-sustaining
all those jobs
industry.
that you eliminated by automation. That's offset by the amount.
By the time there's a problem with the framework, we've come up with a new framework, and we'll just rewrite it in that framework. And I mean, don't get me wrong. I'm not. I'm not saying that we should all use legacy technology, and we should never like, look at new things. Quite the contrary. I think
Sure.
that like us as developers, as consultants, as whatever, we have to continuously be looking at new things.
Absolutely.
But we should justify why we're going to use those new things in a better way than just, well, this looks really cool. And
Well, so what do you think is the key criteria? Somebody's listening to this and they think, well, here's this shiny new thing. Here's Angular 2 is coming out. I invested all this in Angular 1. What's the criteria whether I start jumping to the new frame?
I think first and foremost,
JavaScript is a great example because that's
Yeah.
we talk about a fast-paced technology stack.
Yeah.
That's every two.
well, the churn there is
during
just
while we've been
crazy.
talking, 3 or 4 new frameworks. JavaScript
Exactly.
we're rid of it.
And talking about JavaScript, we were this whole thing with ASP.NET Core and the whole RC, the release candidate things, and how they kept changing some things despite being in RC.
Right.
And I wrote about that, and I got a lot of backlash from the JavaScript community saying, we do this all the time in JavaScript. I'm like, but it doesn't mean that it's an okay thing, right?
Yeah.
Like you're changing the meanings of certain phases in a life cycle of an application.
Sure, RC
right?
used to mean something, and now it's
Yeah,
become almost
exactly,
meaningless.
exactly. And you'd learn that like Google does the same with AngularJS. That like they're in RC7 and they changed the whole routing model. Like you don't do these things, because
Sure.
you have certain level of responsibility towards those people that you are creating a framework for, or whatever, right? So what is the criteria? I still think it boils down to, at the end of the day, what business value does this add?
Sure.
Right. That is
Bang
the first
versus buck.
enforcement. Yeah. What is the
What is the business value? What is the cost of doing it?
exactly? And let's try and analyze some of those things, right? And see if it makes sense from a business perspective for us to use and adopt this technology. And of course, what is the stage of that technology? And I found that it's really funny. Like depending on the community, things vary, right? So, for instance. We at JetBrains we released Kotlin, which is our open source programming language, right? And many people that I would talk to, and this is like the JVM ecosystem,
Okay.
right? So many people I would talk to, they would say like, we love Kotlin, it's amazing, blah blah blah, but we're waiting for 1.0. And I'm like, why? We're using it in production and whatever. No, we're waiting for 1.0. We can't touch it until it's a 1.0.
I see.
1.0 hit, and there was an immediate surge in adoption in Kotlin, right? And now in a JavaScript world, those same people that would say, I'm waiting for a 1.0 release for Kotlin, in a JavaScript world would use some technology that's 0.05216, right?
Not a good point one.
Not even a point, and in the .NET world, we've also been kind of very conservative in the, once it's released, especially things coming from Microsoft, which is kind of like, when they give a go live license,
Yeah.
I won't touch it until it's got to go live.
Some people won't touch it until the first service pack comes out.
Exactly. And you see different behaviors in different communities. So in the JavaScript community, it's absolutely like, it's 0.07249, depending on
They're risk
25 packages that are each. Some even got pulled away, remember, with the left pad stuff. So it's funny how things are different in different communities with that respect. So point being that, how mature is the technology? Has it reached a point of, can I build on this? Because at the end of the day, again, it feels like we don't care about what comes afterwards, right? I'm going to come here. I'm here for 3 years. I'm going to use this technology. I'll be gone before this technology is gone, and whoever comes next, screw it. Let them figure it out.
In the the long run, we're all gone.
Exactly. So, the maturity of the technology, how long it's been around, who knows it. I think these are things to take into account.
Interesting. All right. And you're talking about this talk, the Silver Bullet talk. I know you're giving it here at NDC Sydney.
Yeah.
But this won't be online until after you give that talk. Where else are you speaking?
This one I'm doing, I think I'm doing it again in September in Java Zone in Norway, which is kind of like the NDC but in Java world.
Okay.
And I can't remember where else. And the great thing about this talk is that every time I give it, there is new material.
Oh yeah.
Because we are in such churn.
Oh, so even
There's
your
like-
talk is churning.
Oh yeah, this version is gonna have. We're gonna be talking about serverless architectures as
I
well,
see.
which is the new
Well,
thing.
those are going
right?
to solve everything.
Totally, and the best part is that, you know, you don't have any lock into. Oh, apart from vendor, you don't have any lock in.
That's right. Any plans to come to the U.S.?
Yeah, I'll be there for in September in San Francisco for Java 1.
Okay.
And I was recently there for KCDC. You weren't there, no?
I've never been to KCDC.
It's
Lee Brandt's an old friend. I keep meaning to go there,
yeah.
and next year. Hadi, thank you so much.
Thank you. Technology churn isn't only in development. It's also how we interact with people. It's also how we interact with our friends. And we're going at such a fast pace that we're losing sight of some of the key and most important values in life.